Welcome to the I Hate Social Media podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the chaotic world of social media marketing with a twist of irony and a dash of humor. So whether you love or hate social media, join us on this journey as we uncover the secrets to making it work for you. Well, hey, welcome to the podcast. It's Micah Derling with my good friend and pastor, Matt Meservy. Pastor Matt.
Hey, I'm glad to be here.
Thanks
for the invite.
He's actually pinch hitting for us a little bit. I mean, we're trying to work up a backlog of episodes, which is harder than you would think to do. People back out and cancel and stuff like that. So, but people never back out and cancel on church stuff, right?
Everybody 100% success rate at church. No,
All right. Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about you. I mean, we don't need a full-on life story, but maybe the abbreviated version about what brought you here, and kind of maybe a little bit about what your main role is at Christian Fellowship Church. So,
yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah. Well, I went to Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. Met my wife there. She's from Myerstown, Pennsylvania, which is about a half hour north of here. So she has slowly, over the course of years, tricked me into traveling further and further north with her. And now we live in Leola, which is 10 minutes down the road from here. I serve at Christian Fellowship Church. And yeah, it feels like the Lord has kind of guided and directed me to this point. So yeah, I'm glad.
Very good. Very good. All right. So what is your role there at CFC?
So my role at church is I'm the pastor of Outreach and Connections, which means I do a whole lot of different things, and hopefully get people connected with our church, reach out to the community, and hopefully bring people to our church, because our church is pretty awesome, and we hopefully are helping people grow in their relationship with Christ. So,
Amen. Amen. Yeah. All right. Okay. So you do have a bit of a marketing background, right?
A little bit, yeah. I worked a little bit in marketing at Liberty when I was there, and then I got a job in HR with a company that makes steel pipe in Lynchburg, Virginia, and I kind of was doing dual role there, and part of that was outreach and marketing as well. So yeah, and then my job at my last church was very focused on that. So
okay.
So yeah.
So how does the role of marketing or the kind of the skill set that's involved with marketing, how does that dovetail into like kind of what you do now in terms of like outreach and that sort of thing? What are the connections there? No pun intended. What are the connections there for like how marketing connects to the local church?
Yeah. So I think that this is one thing that a ton of churches don't understand. I've gone into, church conferences and these things where all these leaders get together and they talk about, how they don't want to do marketing. And sometimes at the conferences, they'll even say like, hey, if you're not doing marketing, that is marketing. Like that.
Right.
Like a lack of marketing doesn't just mean you're not doing marketing. It means that you have bad marketing.
That's right. I tell people, if you don't if you don't say who you are, people will just assume they know who you are.
Yeah, and probably even have negative assumptions of who
Sure.
you are. So yeah, I think that in ministry, marketing happens whether or not you realize it's happening. Like think about a church that's down the road from you. What do you think of when you think of that church? That's probably due to either their marketing or their lack of marketing. So the question is are we marketing effectively, and are we marketing authentically for who we are as a church? Because I think a lot of churches kind of miss that. They want to look cool and look like they're this awesome church, and then you actually go there and it's a totally different vibe. So
Right. So it's okay. So I think maybe there's a little bit of baggage that comes with even the word marketing, and it seems almost kind of a sort of taboo, right, for a church to be involved in marketing. But the argument, kind of as you're putting it out, is that like, look, if it's not a question of whether or not you're marketing, but whether you're marketing well and whether you're marketing authentically. And if you're not marketing well, then the people in your neighborhood, your community, are going to make assumptions about what kind of church you are. And wow, what a missed opportunity to be able to say, well, hold on, wait a minute, that's not us, or no, this is kind of what we're really about, and doing that well. So does that sound fair?
yeah, and I would even just add that like Jesus did a lot of marketing in his own right. He told stories. He was trying to draw people to certain emotions and certain feelings, so that they would then hopefully follow after him. So I think that we have a good precedent for doing authentic, good marketing in ministry.
That's very good. That's very good. In fact, one could argue that apologetics is a form of marketing.
Yeah.
It's there's a difference to me anyway between apologetics and, for instance, evangelism. Apologetics can be a part of evangelism, but it is not by itself evangelism. You're just making a case, maybe for the veracity of scriptures, or that they're true or that they're reliable. That's good. I think that's a really great skill set to have. I don't think. But what you're essentially doing is you're marketing. In that case, you're marketing the Bible. It's just trying to help people have a better understanding or better perspective of whatever it is. It could be the church. It could be the Bible.
Yeah,
That sort of thing.
Same thing with, Starbucks. Starbucks they want you to see their marketing and be like, ooh, that sounds good.
Need a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Through their Clover Press.
Whatever. I don't know that. Don't go to Starbucks, but
Unless they want to endorse. No, I'm okay. I feel like it's that way with maybe the mega churches, that they have such a marketing budget that it just comes out with high polish, and it seems salesy.
Yeah, and I would even, add that when you have a certain look about everything that you do, what ends up happening is, oh, I don't look like that.
Right.
So maybe that's not the church for me. So when these mega churches or these large churches have, their best of the best, the best looking, the most, outgoing, the most friendly, then all of a sudden the people who may not feel that way are like, I don't know if would I fit there,
Right.
And that happens with smaller churches as well. But I think that was kind of a negative consequence of, maybe 10 years ago, social media, where everybody was trying. There was even companies that were producing these videos for these large churches with people that didn't even go to their church.
Right.
And their main goal was, hey, we want to look like we're the best. And they didn't want to look like they were part of the community. They wanted to look like they were the best.
Right. Okay, so if it's negative, it is a negative. If it's a negative thing to maybe misrepresents a bit strong, because I don't want to say churches are out there misrepresenting themselves, but that's kind of how it feels anyway.
Yeah.
If you're the person on the receiving end, and this is what you've been sold, and then you show up and it's not that, there's a little bit of, at least to some degree, some level of misrepresentation. What are some of the best ways, maybe like in just philosophically speaking or in principle, what are some of the best ways a church can handle, or how do I want to say this? How does a church be authentic? How does a church address social media and create content that is authentic?
So it's not easy. First, you need to know your church culture. Like that's honestly, I've been trying to, and I think I've, for the most part, kind of have a feel for our church now, Christian Fellowship Church. But for the first, year or so, that was kind of my goal, was like, okay, what are we really good at as a church? What do we love? What do we maybe lean away from? What are things that are, of value to us? If I had to write, the pillars of our church, what are the 5 pillars or the things that we're really into and that we're really good at? And then how can I show our people doing those things rather than having a perfect image of a Getty image or one of those,
Sure.
one of those images up on our social that makes it look like we're perfect in every way. How can I
Smiling families,
yeah,
perfectly
smiling
done
family, you can't tell what their ethnicity is. Everybody all kind of looks the same. And
Right.
And what ends up happening is if you do that, you're going to attract certain people, but they're going to have wildly different expectations than who you really are.
That's right.
So that's always my goal. Social media it can be something that could eat up my 40-hour work week if we wanted it to.
Absolutely.
The church is pretty proactively not having me do that. So for me, I'm like, okay, how can I spend 2 hours this week and get 5 pictures and, 2 quotes from pastor's sermon and, a couple other things that are relevant to people throughout their week this week.
See, I think that is a big part of the process is for any business, even like us. I don't have 40 hours a week to commit to social media, and I'm not in a position where we can just hire somebody. Yeah. That would be awesome. And there's some businesses that do that. And even the ones that do, I feel like a lot of the content they put out is just vanilla. It's just they're going through the motions, but they're doing what everybody else does, and I call that background noise. You have risen to the level of social media white noise. So, like, congratulations, you're now among the stars.
Yep.
You're 1 in 100 trillion. But yeah, so I look at that and I think there's a limit to how much time should be invested, but there's also like the kind of doing the right things as well. So it's not just a matter of like getting any old content out there. I like what you're saying as far as just you do have to manage your time, but I also think churches back away from social media because they're afraid of it. Because that whole taboo thing about it, I think it's coming around. But to me, by and large, social media itself is neutral.
Yeah.
I don't think in and of itself it's harmful. It's a tool like any other tool. The internet itself, I mean, you could argue that it's harmful, and yet we have to have it.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. Society runs on it now. Now, I don't think society runs on social media, but it is here to stay, at least for the foreseeable future. And a church can decide to use it well or maybe not at all. But I think that what happens is not using it is the same as not marketing. People will make assumptions about you. And here's the thing. It's such a missed opportunity because so way back, if we were living in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, if you wanted to know about a church, you either had to hear about it or, this is crazy, call the church and talk to the pastor or whatever. I've done that. Pre-internet. It wasn't pre-internet. It was post-internet. But there were churches that didn't have websites, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There still are probably
Yeah.
a few of them. But so it was weird, right? And I always thought, man, why would a church not have a website? And I think they were just kind of a little bit behind the times or whatever. But it's a missed opportunity at that point for a guy like me who wants to know about your church, but you're not giving me a way to learn about you. So that was a long-winded way of saying, and do you agree? Yes or yes?
Yeah.
No. So it's a long-winded way of saying that like social media is neutral, but you're missing opportunities for people who genuinely just want to know what you're about, but they can't. You're invisible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went to a conference once and they said that, the internet is almost like the phone used to be,
Yes.
like if you're not in the phone book, you're not going to be seen. You know what
That's
I mean?
right.
Like people are not going to call you. You're not going to get the people who are looking for you. And now that's the internet. And beyond that, it's become more and more social media. Like I saw a survey not too long ago that said, let's say you wanted to go visit a church or you moved to a new area, what would you do?
Yep.
I think half the people said Google and the other half said Facebook.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
Just Facebook church near me, or Google church near me, or
Yeah, that's right.
And now they're saying with the new AI stuff, there's going to be more and more of that too, which is a little bit daunting, but
That's right. That's right.
but if you're not playing the game, you can't expect I would even say it becomes a almost a religious experience of like how much do we care about our community? Like,
Right.
do we care enough to where we want people to come to our church?
Yeah.
And if we really want people to come to our church, we're going to do things that naturally are going to, let them know who we are. And that's all it is. That's really all it is. And it's broken and it's messed up. And I like these, I hate social media is the thing. Like, I hate it too. Like, I hate it. And I work on it all the time. I hate it. And yet it's necessary. And even for me, if I want to go try a new restaurant in Lancaster, I want to see what people are saying about it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Oh man, how often do we say like, we should go there? It's highly rated.
I just went to a new, it's a Korean style chicken place. Really spicy, really good.
Is that local?
It is, or yeah, I forget the name of it, and I don't want to say it on here because it's a Chinese word, and I don't want to.
Okay.
But anyways, I don't.
Or a
wanna
Korean
mess it up.
word.
A Korean word, yes.
Okay. So this is so I don't know if I should say. Okay, I won't say who it is because it's not. It's a family member. I'll never forget. Like it was fairly recent. It was like a year. I'm not going to go down that road. It won't be as funny as I think it is. Okay, so we'll skip that. It's a story for another time. So anyway, I was going to say, just based off of everything you were saying, earlier when I'm like, oh yeah, I mean, if you're on social media and you're putting out this vanilla stuff, congratulations, you're just part of the white noise. You still have to be part of the noise. I mean, you cannot be, but you just lose. I think you lose business, period.
Yeah.
And it would be the same true for a church, I think, or and this applies to any nonprofit. You just have to be visible. There are going to be people that will look for you. And as you said, I think it's still true that half will Google and half are going to try to find you on social media. And the funny thing about social media too is if you're at least up to date, like you're putting stuff out regularly, even if it's just once or twice a week, right?
Yeah. Yep.
They look at that and they see that it's fresh. That communicates so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh, they're active, they're doing something, they're alive.
I use the word vibrancy.
Vibrancy.
Like I want people to go onto our social and see vibrancy.
That's
see
right.
Happiness, see joy, see people enjoying being at our church, see, when we did baptism, seeing lives changed. I think, and I don't mean to throw the church under the bus when I came, but like when I first came, they were doing a lot of, we do this things to know email, and it was just like, here's our things to know email, here's our things to know email, here's our things to know email. And it was just a picture of like an email button, so if anybody wanted to go see what's going on at CFC, they were seeing email, 100 times, and then maybe some pictures of a recent event, and then 100 more emails, so the hope is that people see vibrancy. Yeah, I think that's really important.
Very good. Very good. CFC hasn't experienced any negative feedback that I'm aware of, right? I mean,
we get an occasional, I think every church gets the occasional person who just is out to, I hate God, I hate churches, why are you doing this?
Like a trolly kind of
almost
experience.
A little bit of a troll. And occasionally, we'll get the, hey, I wanted to bring my kid to VBS, but nobody would come pick him up, or something like that, like those types of comments. So you do deal with occasional things. And then, I'll talk to Julie, our children's director, and she's like, I told him I'd even pick him up myself, So you have to deal a little bit with some of that. And you can choose whether you want to hide the comment or whether you want to have that in the public sphere.
What do we usually choose?
Well, I normally do it on a case-by-case basis. I think that there's real opportunity through negativity to be authentic. Somebody who says, my dad died of cancer and his pastor never prayed for him and I've never been to church again and I hate church and, I don't know why you're doing all these fun things, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'll normally just respond and say, hey, brother, I'm so sad that this other church treated you poorly. We want you to know that like we're here for you. We want to help in any way. Like let us know if there's anything that we can do, and then we'll even take it a step up and send him something on behalf of his dad or something like that to let him know that we really care about him, and that can really one, it disarms them. They're coming looking for hate, so it kind of disarms them, and two, I think it's good for the community to see, wow, this church doesn't just they don't just hide anything that's negative. They're actually okay. Like I think Google reviews are another one where you see some negative.
Sure.
You get some 1 or 2 star reviews that just say didn't like the color on the wall or even like stuff like that.
Hey, we split over that a few years ago. No, it's good. Oh man, yeah.
But to respond in a positive way, like to do what Jesus actually tells us to do, to not necessarily lay down on our backs, but to actually to stand up for what we believe and do it in a way that's joyful and honoring to the person.
That's right.
I think is one way we can actually be a good testimony.
I think that's right. I mean, it would be great if we lived in a world where everybody was just nice to everyone. But then again, if that was the world we lived in, you wouldn't need the church or the gospel. Yep. We live in a broken world. I actually really appreciated you just saying about about all of these things, whether it's social media or just us, it's broken. We're broken. Yeah. The systems are broken. Everything's broken. And we by grace, apply them and use them as tools, to help us be better servants and better followers of Christ. And, yeah, I mean, but at the end of the day, it's all imperfect. And sometimes I really hate it, but, well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate that. Any final thoughts? I mean, I wanted to ask you, like, you know, if there's a church out there that's just kind of getting started in social media, are there tools that you like to use, to kind of do some of that, manage some of that, or?
I would just say, like I said before, be you, find things that are you. Like if you love worship, like take pictures of your worship team, have some worship lyrics from the recent song, like do that. If you are big into outreach and people, take pictures in the lobby of people shaking hands and welcoming one another. Like be as open and friendly and as you can be. But the opposite of that is don't do things that are not you. You know what I mean? Like if your church hates sports outreach, but you saw a church down the road that, had 100 kids out to their soccer camp, don't do the soccer camp just because the church down the road, and then you have your social media team with the 3 kids who came because nobody in your church plays soccer. And social media becomes it's a microcosm of your church.
Right.
And it's more of a be you as a church, and then your social media. If you take pictures and you do things at the things that are of you being you, you're going to be successful. Whereas if you try to be somebody else, or you try to be the mega church down the road, or you got that one good-looking guy and one good-looking girl, and they're the only people you ever post. People notice that. And they're like, there must be 2 people at this church.
That's right.
Or whatever it is.
Supermodels at that
church. Yeah. Those 2 supermodels, I think they're the only ones there.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, just engage your culture, look at what your church culture is, and be that on social media.
That's great. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. I'm hoping to have somebody from a totally different business. It's going to surprise you, but I think you'll find it helpful, just because of the way he uses social media, which is really unlike anybody we've talked to so far. So stick around with us, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks.
Thanks.